When it comes to electrification, Subaru is certainly no stranger, having first entered the space with the XV Crosstrek Hybrid over a decade ago. Now, in the world of fully electric vehicles, Subaru first entered the market about 3 years ago with the Solterra. The company essentially leveraged their partnership with Toyota, with the two companies working together to create two different vehicles. Now, the Solterra was a fine SUV, but it also wasn't really a great EV due to its low range and slow charging speeds. But for 2026, the company is looking to rectify that with an all-new revised version of the Solterra. As you can see, this model gets an all-new styling on the front fascia. It gets new battery packs, new electric motors with significantly more power, and on the inside, we get a new dash design with the largest screen ever fitted to a Subaru at 14 inches. So today we're actually out here just north of Denver in Black Hawk, Colorado, because we're finally able to get behind the wheel of the 2026 Solterra. And the big question I want answered, has Subaru made enough changes to their electric SUV to finally be considered one of the top players in the space? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the thoroughly revised sheet metal for the 2026 Solterra, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys if this vehicle has a front trunk like so many EVs. As you can see, there is no front trunk storage space, but what you do find here is a completely brand new electric motor. Subaru says the electric motor itself is a little bit smaller, it's a little bit lighter, it's also a lot more powerful and more efficient. Now, the model that we're showing you here is the new XT trim. The XT trim is going to give you a significant power boost because all Solterras are essentially going to come with a new battery pack. It's a 73.7 kilowatt hour battery pack, so it's a little bit larger than the old model, and you get dual electric motors, so one in the front and one at the rear. The base versions like the Premium and the Limited are going to come with around 233 horsepower. However, if you spring for the XT trim, you get a significantly more powerful front electric motor, giving you a grand total of 338 horsepower. So again, that's a big jump versus the 215 that you got in the pre-refresh model. Subaru doesn't quote an official torque figure, but they said if you add the output of the front and the rear electric motor, you'll get a total of around 323 foot-pounds of torque, which is a pretty healthy number. It all goes out through a 1-speed reduction gear transmission, and Subaru claims 0 to 60 should be under 5 seconds, making this vehicle the quickest accelerating Subaru that the company has ever essentially put their name on. Now, in terms of the range, this vehicle is rated up to 288 miles. This model that we're showing you here has 278 miles because of the 20-inch wheels that it comes with. They don't rate a towing capacity for this vehicle, although I've seen some publications post 1,500 pounds, but there was no official number from Subaru. And in terms of the curb weight, despite all the additional technology and increase in the power, the curb weight remains around the same at around 4,500 pounds. So it's actually among the lighter vehicles in the segment, which is pretty shocking. Top speed should also be around 105 miles an hour. Now, if you want to follow me over this way, Subaru moved the charge port door to the passenger side fender for this year. And that's because a lot of owners said that they like to pull in forward to charge their vehicle. And the big story as well is the fact that this vehicle now comes standard with the J3400 plug. That's the NACS plug, which is the same plug that Tesla uses. With that new battery pack, this vehicle will now allow a charge rate up to 150 kilowatts, which means you can go from 10 to 80% in about 30 minutes. That's around 5 minutes faster than previously. And it also has an upgraded 11 kilowatt onboard level 2 charger. So charging at home on a level 2 will probably take around 8 hours now versus 11 to 12 hours for the pre-refresh model. But taking a look at the rest of the styling elements for this all new Solterra, or at least heavily revised Solterra, you can see the front fascia is entirely new. Subaru says they've also made it more aerodynamic. Obviously, it's an EV, so you don't need an actual grille opening. Instead, you have the new Subaru logo here, which all the models for 2026 have an illuminated 6-star logo, which is definitely going to give it a unique light signature at night. I don't like how the front camera system is offset over to the right side of the vehicle. It just kind of bothers my OCD. It's a small little detail, but you can see it has their new corporate face that I believe will be the face of all their EVs. So you have this basically 6-point LED daytime running light that's kind of divorced from the actual headlight assembly. This is a very trendy styling detail, but I really do like the light signature. You can see the turn signals are also LED, which is nice. No fog lights on the vehicle itself, but you do have headlight washers and you'll have integrated parking sensors. The front bumper down here, you can see, has some functional openings along with an unpainted cladding area here. In fact, the cladding on this car is actually very tasteful. Subaru's always kind of been guilty of putting too much cancerous cladding around most of their vehicles, so that's kind of a big change that they've made. If you look at the rest of the profile, as you can see, Subaru is actually offering a few new colors this year, including a Midnight Tide, which is a very dark blue which has some kind of purple elements to it. It looks very good when the sun hits it, although when the sun's not hitting it, it actually looks more like a black exterior color. This model that we're showing you here, however, is an elemental red, which is technically a carryover color, but the big change you're probably going to notice, however, is the fender flares, because previously every Solterra had an unpainted black plastic cladding fender flare that you found on the front and on the rear. For 2026, all of them essentially have body or painted fender flares, but on this elemental red, you'll actually get like a gloss black painted fender flare. If you guys want a body colored fender flare, you have to go for their gray exterior, their white exterior, or their black exterior color. Sadly, Subaru doesn't give you the option on the red or the blue or some of the other colors, or like the Harbor Mist color, to get the painted fender flares. You kind of have to choose it based on color, not based on the trim level. Now, looking at the wheels, you can see the base version of the Solterra will have an 18-inch wheel on the premium trim, which the 18-inch wheel has actually got a new design. It'll be better for off-roading. This, of course, is the touring trim, so you have an upgraded 20-inch wheel with a new design. The wheels themselves look really nice. They fit the wheel wells out nicely as well. It's riding on a 235 by 50 R20 it's a Giolando Yokohama all-season tire, and Subaru has preserved the 8.3 inches of ground clearance, which they claim is among the best in the industry, which is actually true, because if you compare this vehicle to like a Hyundai Ioniq 5 or a Tesla Model Y, those models have roughly 2 inches less ground clearance. The brakes measure 13 inches at the front, all disc brakes, of course, 12-inch rotors at the back. All independent suspension as well, although Subaru says they've completely redone the subframe underneath. So the front subframe is new, the suspension is new, the steering geometry and steering rack is also new. So that's why they're kind of calling this vehicle more of a redesign as opposed to a heavy refresh, although technically, in my eyes, it's more of a heavy refresh. Now, looking at the rest of the profile, you can see the Solterra kind of remains a right-sized compact SUV with a 112.2-inch wheelbase and a 185.4-inch overall length. This is about the same size as Subaru's Forester, but again, they don't share the same platform because this is built off of a Toyota architecture at a Toyota plant. Now, as you can also see, when you guys go for the touring trim, you can get the option of a black painted roof, which goes nicely with the black painted side mirrors. These are also power folding, integrated turn signals with a 360 camera. As well, which is going to help you with visibility if you guys are driving off-road or if you need to parallel park. You can also see the roof rails are the low profile black painted kind, and you can also see this trim comes with a panoramic glass style sunroof, which lets in a ton of light. Sadly, it doesn't actually open up to vent air, but it also does have a retractable shade. Subaru made one critical change, is they got rid of the black bar that kind of cut the two sunroof panels or glass panels into two pieces, so that now that gives you a much more open and airy feeling cabin, and you can also still stack up to 700 pounds of static weight on the roof when you guys have the actual roof rail crossbars that Subaru will easily sell you from the factory. Now, looking at the rear, I apologize for how dirty the car is. We'll be driving this vehicle, or we drove this vehicle through kind of an off-road course that we'll show you guys later on. To kind of bring it out to this beautiful area to film. But the rear design also definitely looks more like a heavy refresh compared to the front, where it got significant changes. Just like the pre-refresh model, you also have these kind of dual spoilers at the top of the vehicle, one of course up here. This is of course going to help with aerodynamics. There's actually no rear window wiper here because Subaru and Toyota says that you don't need it because the air flows and it'll kind of wish away the water. You also get a second spoiler here, although the spoilers have been reshaped. That allows for better aerodynamics, of course. You have new badging back here as well with this kind of graphite gray finish badging. The taillights are a full LED design. They are a little different versus what you get on the Toyota BZ, which we had a chance to drive a couple of months ago. And Subaru kind of overdoes it with the badging here. They even put a symmetrical all-wheel drive badge back here, even though technically the all-wheel drive system on this vehicle is a little different versus a gas-powered Subaru. Now down here you can see the bumper is also unpainted, so this is not like a glossy black finished bumper. And you can see there's no tow hitch, obviously no exhaust tips. This is a fully electric vehicle. And there's also integrated parking sensors. You do have two cameras back here, one for the backup camera and one for the rear view digital mirror camera that's standard on this particular trim. And then in terms of the cargo area, every Solterra for 2026 comes with a power actuated liftgate. But if you want the hands-free function, you have to get the limited trim. So it's kind of impressive how you get a power liftgate standard on all models. And as you can see, the cargo area is very useful, around 23.8 cubic feet of storage space, which doesn't sound like a lot on paper. Some competitors offer as much as 10 more cubic feet. If you look underneath the floor here, Subaru also gives you a nice little hidden storage compartment, which is nice. And they also give you a mobile charger, which now includes level 1 and level 2s. And you also will get a CCS combo adapter. So Subaru is giving you all the tools that you need to basically be able to charge anywhere or charge at your home. If you fold down the back seats back here, which there is no release lever, but you can kind of do it by reaching over. You can see the floor is not completely flat. There's a noticeable hump there, but Subaru says it expands the cargo to around 63.5 cubic feet of space, which is certainly very usable, but that slope here definitely kind of creates a little bit less space if you want to stack things up to the roof. This trim also includes a full household power outlet back here with 1500 watts with a button to turn on the AC inverter. So that's definitely a nice touch. But overall, the cargo space, while it is usable, it is going to be a little bit smaller versus some of its rivals. Now moving on to the interior of the 2026 Solterra. The company made some big changes outside, but the interior is also where they made some huge upgrades as well. Now, first of all, even if you guys go for the premium trim, every Solterra now will come with their StarTex leatherette material, which actually is a very durable material that's waterproof. If you guys step it up to the touring trim, however, that I'm showing you here, Subaru actually upgrades you to a premium leather interior, which, as you can see, this elemental red with this kind of two-tone gray with the black combination of the interior with the contrast stitching looks very upscale. It feels very premium. These seats are also heated and ventilated, and you also get a 10-way power driver's seat with 2-person memory. The passenger seat is also an 8-way power, which is a really nice touch. The cooled seats are only on the touring trim. They work well, although I definitely noticed that the cooled seats on some Toyota models that I've tested are better, so I'm not entirely sure why, because these are essentially the same seats that you'll find in the Toyota counterpart, which is the Toyota BZ. Now, getting inside with around 8.3 inches of ground clearance, it has a nice, easy step-in height, and then as I shut the door has a pretty solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built on Toyota's eTNGA architecture. Now, looking at the key fob, you can see this is clearly a Toyota Intelligent Access fob with the Subaru logo. It's a nice size feeling key. It just feels a little bit on the cheaper side for me. I actually think Subaru's key looks better. I was kind of wishing they would switch it out to Subaru's key. It has your usual buttons here for lock, unlock, power liftgate, panic, and then you can also turn on the climate control from the key itself. If you have access to the Subaru Starlink app, if you're an owner, you can also ping the vehicle from your phone and start it from there. But starting the vehicle up, start, stop button is right here. Put your foot on the brake. Once you turn it on, of course, this is an EV, so it'll just say ready in the instrument panel. And then the rest of the dash, as you can see, has been completely redone. And this is where Subaru, again, was very proud of the fact that this now has the biggest screen that they ever put in any Subaru at 14 inches. This is standard equipment, even on the base premium. So that's a huge upgrade, whereas the old model had an 8-inch touchscreen as standard, and now you get the 14 inches standard. This is actually, if you guys have seen it, a lot of Lexus vehicles, the same screen that Lexus happens to use in a lot of their vehicles. You can see the upper portion here is basically a 12.3. It's got wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. This lower portion here is also a screen, and you also have a screen inside these little dials for the dual zone climate control. This always kind of stays put. You can see there's also heated and ventilated seats. They're located in the screen themselves, along with a heated steering wheel. And you can also kind of hit that and expand that if you want to get rid of the native, quick access buttons there. So this is definitely a nice looking screen. It's quick and snappy and easy to use. You still have the same 7-inch display here that functions as the instrument panel, but it also kind of functions as a head-up display because it's really high up in the dash. And as you can see, Subaru kind of cleaned up a lot of the cheap looking plastic that was kind of showing a little, almost like a little line that led you to the instrument panel there, so I think that looks better. I also like the Subaru steering wheel where it's basically a squircle. You have a flat bottom and a flat top design. This helps to keep the steering wheel from blocking your view over there, which I really think Toyota should adopt the steering wheel. The wheel itself has some nice leather. There's paddles here to control the regen braking. There's 4 different levels, and you also have your buttons here for the Subaru Starlink system, where it's their driver assist, although it's technically Toyota's Safety Sense 3.0. And you also have buttons here to control what that screen looks like. In terms of the materials, this upper portion of the door panel is a soft touch injection molded plastic. You have some really nice leather here on the door panel, silver painted plastic door handles here. Illuminated window controls. The windows are 1 touch up, down for all 4. You have 2-person memory, like I said earlier, power folding mirrors. I like how this is not piano black plastic. This is definitely a nicer matte gray finish. And down here you have additional storage, hard touch plastic. And then this vehicle comes with the upgraded Harman Kardon stereo, which I believe is different versus what Toyota, I believe, uses a JBL system. So kind of keep that in mind. The rest of the dash, you can see, has a soft touch injection molded plastic here. Some nice soft touch plastic here. There's also new ambient lighting in this vehicle, which if you like ambient lighting, Subaru's ambient lighting is actually borrowed from Toyota. It's a customizable ambient lighting as well. So if you go here to the information display, if you go to the car icon here, or sorry, the gear icon, you can go into vehicle customize, and you can also go into illumination. And as you can see, there's so many different choices here to choose from. This is kind of similar to what Lexus offers. So I was not expecting to see, this many levels of, customization. You can go to a custom color here and change it entirely if you guys don't want to even pick from the preset levels here. So I'll have to show you guys a separate video when I have one for a week to show you at night what it looks like. So that's kind of an unexpected touch. The CarPlay again is right there. If I push this button, you can see it brings up the full 360 camera. Subaru says they've upgraded the camera quality resolution. You can see there's the full 360 panoramic display, or if you can just put it into reverse here, you can see it brings up the backup camera with trajectory, distance markers. It also has front cross-traffic braking and rear cross-traffic braking. So again, the 360 camera, I believe, is included if you guys go for the limited trim. That's a really nice feature, especially if you guys plan to go off-roading. Now, the rest of the center stack, you can see they've redesigned this to where they've raised this up a little bit, and you also get dual wireless phone charging pads as standard. So you don't have to go for the base trim to get, or the upper trims to get the dual wireless phone charging pads. You can see there's my iPhone 16 Pro Max. It fits perfectly there, which is nice. The gear selector is also still very interesting, where it's like this little ring where you push down, twist it to the right to go into reverse. There's a chime that lets you know you're in reverse, and then push down and twist it again to go to the right to go into drive. Push the P button to go to park. There's a drive mode selector here. There's basically 3 modes. There's power, sport mode, an eco mode, and a normal mode, of course. And you also have your X mode here, which is kind of a feature that Subaru pioneered, where it gives you a snow and dirt mode. It also gives you grip control, where if you guys are planning to do some more serious off-roading, which we'll get a chance to show you guys what that's like later on during the video. This feature is also included on the Toyota BZ, so it's a technology that, again, Subaru pioneered that Toyota got to use as well. I like how there's a matte gray plastic area here as opposed to the piano black, but you do have a little bit of that there. And then you can see your cup holders are right here. There's a nice big storage area down here with your USB-C charging connectors right there as well. And this area provides some nice storage. You can see padded center console armrest, and this also opens up in 2 different ways. Pretty decent amount of storage as well. That's nice and padded, like I mentioned. And then in terms of the headroom space, with the panoramic sunroof taking up some room, I have maybe a solid 1.5 inches, 2 inches of headroom. And you can see without that bar kind of blocking or breaking up the 2 glass panels, you just have a much more open and airy view. I still wish that this opened up to vent air. There's like a woven material here for the headliner, and this trim also comes with a fully digital rear view camera for the mirror, but you can also go to a traditional mirror if you guys don't like that. So overall, the interior definitely feels pretty upscale. The seats are also very comfortable and supportive. This vehicle does, however, still lack a glove box, and that's because there's a Radiant knee warmer here. And there's also one for the driver's side as well. So this area here will actually waft warm air onto your knees, which is great if you're in a warmer climate area. Where you don't need to use the actual heater. That helps to save electricity, but it also negates the fact that you don't have a glove box, which is why you have the storage here and the storage here that functions as the glove box. And the Harman Kardon stereo sounds pretty good if you guys are an audiophile. So overall, build quality, the materials are good. The fit and finish is good. The tech is also really nice, and the seats are extremely comfortable with good visibility. So overall, I think Subaru made great updates to the interior, but just keep in mind this interior is basically the same setup as what you'll find in the Toyota BZ. Now, hopping into the back seat area, let's go ahead and show you guys what that space is like. As you can see, the space back here, Subaru says you have just under 36 inches of legroom, which is on the lower end. I've seen some competitors offer up to 40 inches, but at the same time, it seems pretty usable. This seat does offer a recline function. You can see it reclines very slightly, or you can fold it down where it still has kind of like an elevation here. It's not a completely flat floor, so that's a little disappointing, but I like the fact that it does recline. As I get back here, you can see the space is also pretty usable. I mean, this is essentially my driving position. I can get back here. I can get pretty comfortable. I can cross my legs. There's plenty of foot space. There's basically a completely flat floor back here. And you also have some nice features like rear seat air vents. You have 3-level heated seats only on this touring trim. You have USB-C charging ports. They've actually repositioned them from down here to up here, so it's much easier access. You have 2 storage pockets, and then the material quality back here is the same as the front. Soft touch here, leatherette over here, of course. Illuminated window controls, and you have a little bit more storage down here. It's all hard touch plastic down here, which is what I expect, of course. But if I fold down the armrest here, you can see there's your cup holders, additional storage, and then the headroom space is actually still pretty good. There's a little bit of a carve out here, so I have like a maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches of clearance. But remember, I'm only 5'7", but some competitors do offer more rear seat space, but I'm impressed with some of the features that they've thrown in. But you do have to go for the touring trim, of course, to get some of the features like the heated rear seats, which is a really nice touch in this class of vehicle. So here we are behind the wheel of the updated, and I mean updated, this is thoroughly updated Subaru Solterra. Just like the Toyota BZ, in which it shares a platform, this vehicle essentially almost got a redesign because the internals have been updated. We have way more power, we have a bigger battery pack, up to 278 miles of range, and this XT model that we're driving offers up to 338 horsepower, which Subaru actually says this model, if you can believe it, is the quickest accelerating car to wear their badge that they've ever produced, although technically this vehicle is produced by Toyota. But again, they're claiming a 0 to 60 time of under 5 seconds. The last Solterra that we tested, a 2024 model, did it in around 5.9 seconds, which is honestly fast enough. You don't really need any more power when you're, talking about an electric vehicle like this. It has so much power right off the line. They just feel so incredibly fast that you really don't need to push them all that hard. But overall, what I'm noticing with this vehicle is it's still a really nice car to drive. The ride quality is surprisingly smooth, even though we're on big 20-inch wheels. The quietness of this interior is also excellent. I found that there's very little wind noise, although I did hear some road noise come in, but that also could be attributed to the very kind of crappy roads that are around here in the Colorado area that we're doing this little short drive on. But overall, the Solterra definitely feels like a comfortable, easy to drive SUV that just happens to be electric. There's a lot of people, looking in this particular class of vehicle. It continues to grow basically every year. And Subaru has definitely needed these improvements, especially with, the all-electric range and the performance. Now, we started off this drive with around a 98% state of charge. Now, at that level, it was showing around 280 miles of range, or I'm sorry, 260 miles of range, which is pretty good amount of range for most people. Although, again, Subaru says that if you want the best range, you want to look at the premium model. That will do up to 288 miles of range. The battery pack at 73.4 kilowatt hours is really not that big, so it kind of speaks to the efficiency of this model. Now, typically I always hate doing a 0 to 60 test in an environment like this because we are in Colorado where we're about 5,000 feet above sea level, which does affect the performance of internal combustion engine vehicles. However, this is an all-electric vehicle, so it shouldn't affect the performance at all. If anything, it actually should make it a little bit faster. So let's go ahead and see what we can get here. So we have the vehicle in its power setting, and let's go ahead and see. All right, we got 4.3 or 4.53 seconds there. 4.53 is pretty fast. I mean, let's be honest, most vehicles in this class are, in the sub 5-second range, and Subaru was behind the times at just offering like 4 or 5.9 seconds. So this new version is a big improvement, and I'm really liking what Subaru has done here with the increase in the power. Not that it really needed it. This vehicle in general is still, the old model was, I already thought was pretty quick, especially if you're coming from a Forester. This new version, that has the punch that I'm looking for an EV. And remember, this is an XT version, which Subaru was kind of wise to revive the XT badging. I mean, that's always stood for their high performance models. So now that they've, they're offering it in this vehicle here with the XT badge, doesn't surprise me that it's honestly pretty fast. Let's try another run here. Yes, this thing is fast. Holy smokes, 4.49 seconds there. All right, so it's a smidge faster than the Toyota BZ that I tested, although granted, when I tested the BZ, I had Rob in the car with me, and while he doesn't weigh that much, we were in a completely different environment. We are here in Colorado where the air is a little bit thinner because we're about 5,000 feet above sea level, but this is kind of where an EV truly shines, is when you're able to drive, a vehicle like this in this high altitude conditions, and you don't really notice the extra, the lack of air and such. But, fast acceleration is one thing. Most people buy an EV because they're looking for a really great daily driver, and the Solterra definitely fits that bill nicely. The steering is light, quick, precise, doesn't offer much in terms of feedback. Every time you put your foot down, this thing just literally spins its front tire out, which is kind of hilarious. The 20-inch wheels have a new design this year, but it still pretty much has the same ride quality that I remembered. Visibility out of this vehicle is also decent. You can see out of the front, the side. This A-pillar is on the thicker side. The view out of the back is great. The window, even though it's sloped, doesn't really take up any space. And then if you want, you can go into the digital camera rearview mirror, which gives you a full, like big HD view out of the back. And these seats are also very comfortable and supportive. So I'm really liking the overall vibe here with this car. I mean, I already said that the BZ4X was a great vehicle. It just wasn't really a great EV. But that's where, Subaru and Toyota needed to make some changes here. In terms of sportiness, this is definitely not what I would call sporty, but the steering does respond pretty quick whenever I turn the wheel, which is great. And the ride kind of borders along more of like a softer ride, but it also will still hang with some of the sportier options if you guys find your favorite back road. The one-pedal drive in this vehicle isn't a true one-pedal drive, but it does noticeably slow the vehicle down nicely when you're trying to come down to a stop. But I'll have to wait until I get one back home to test for a full week where we can test out the range. But like I said, it was showing just around 260 miles at 98% state of charge, which is average at best. It's not the best. But overall, if you guys are looking to trade your old one, it's definitely worth the upgrade. And if you guys are coming from a Forester, this is going to be a huge improvement. I mean, a huge improvement. But I mean, basically what Subaru's done here is they've improved the EV portion, which was lacking. The car aspect of this vehicle was already good, so no complaints from me there. This is still a really excellent vehicle to live with on a daily basis. Now, Subaru says about 40% of current Solterra customers choose off-roading or put off-roading as an important deciding factor. So it wouldn't be a Subaru event if we weren't taking this vehicle off-roading. And this is kind of where a lot of its competitors don't even have enough ground clearance to do this. So Subaru has this little course set up for us. We have the vehicle in its X mode. So let's go ahead and see what the first obstacle is like. Yep, yeah, I have it in X mode. It's already on, I think.
Yeah,
so
that's it. Yeah, just come off the pedals when you're ready.
Cool.
Any other questions?
I think that's it. I'm just going to wait for him to get down, and he's going to shoot me going down. Hopefully Rob doesn't fall down the hill. That camera's actually rolling, so if he does slip and fall. Now this is where the 360 cameras come in handy if you're trying to get through rather tight quarters with this vehicle. Now when in X mode, when you're in X mode, it has the hill descent control feature turned on, which will limit the speed and initiate the braking, so I don't really have to do anything, just kind of steer, which is really nice because I can feel the vehicle holding the speed at 3 miles an hour. The car literally goes down this rather steep descent, and the sensors are seeing Rob out there to keep me from hitting him, but overall, it makes it pretty easy. I mean, but while this is not super like rigorous, at the same time, try doing this in a Tesla Model Y. I don't think it's going to do that very easily. So this is kind of where Subaru has their heritage. A lot of Subaru owners like to go off-roading, so it doesn't surprise me that the Solterra kind of has that similar capability.
Watch for traffic.
Oh great, I'm traffic now? That's how big I am? Jesus.
Yeah, it literally was warning me as I passed by you. It was just like, there's something over there. Beep, beep, beep.
It's a large object.
Now, I also want to point out we are driving the Touring trim, which comes with 20-inch wheels. I personally would rather be driving a model that has 18-inch wheels, but I am a little surprised at the ride quality of this vehicle as I go through some of these ruts and these rocks that we're driving over, including Rob's own cell phone that we're about to drive over. So hopefully we don't actually run over his phone. But as we kind of go through this, you can see the vehicle gets sideways pretty easily. In fact, the all-wheel drive system does a really great job at just appropriating the power to the wheel with the most amount of grip. The all-wheel drive system as well, is very different in the sense that it has 2 independent electric motors, but at the same time, the X mode, which is basically mostly software, allows you to kind of get through and appropriates the power to each wheel to give you that forward momentum that you're looking for. But now Subaru has set up this little obstacle course where we have these kind of hills and ruts to go through, and this will really show the articulation of the wheels and the ground clearance. The one thing this vehicle doesn't have are skid plates, so hopefully we don't actually scrape or rub because there aren't really any underbody protections, which kind of leaves space for Subaru to do a wilderness version of this vehicle. I would like to see them do a wilderness at some point, but as we go over this little hill, we're going to dip down, and this is kind of where you're going to see the wheels go lift up depending on which side you're looking at. But as I go kind of slowly through here, you can really see the vehicle really just kind of glides right through it. And again, try this in a Tesla Model Y. You certainly can't do that with only like 6.5 inches of ground clearance, or even a Hyundai Ioniq 5, although the Ioniq 5 XRT could do something like this, but it technically doesn't have as much ground clearance as the Solterra, so that's always a nice little plus. I really appreciate as well the 360 camera and the somewhat smaller size of this vehicle. It allows you to kind of navigate these tighter turns pretty well. You can see here's where this vehicle is struggling a bit. I've still got the X mode on, so as the wheels slip, it's sending the power to another wheel to kind of figure out where the power needs to go to keep the momentum going. And the ride quality remains really comfortable. So this is a really easy car to kind of get through situations like this. And I imagine this is probably even more extreme than some owners are going to push their vehicles through. I mean, most people are just going to take this thing out into a campsite, go on a gravel road and whatnot. But again, Subaru likes to point out that their owners, their drivers really like to go do outdoorsy things, which is kind of just the Subaru way. This turning radius is also relatively tight. I imagine maybe the 18-inch wheels are probably a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, this is really easy for a car like this. So I think people who are looking to go electric, but at the same time, they don't want to give up any capability, are going to find a lot to like with this car. Now, as we go over this little section here, I'm going to go a little slow because this is kind of where I remember earlier we saw a car struggling to get through this. So we'll go ahead and we'll go a little bit slow. This is kind of where we're going to get some wheels up in the air. And again, here's the traction control stepping in. My foot's still down, but it's still allowing us to kind of think and move forward. Still slipping here, so you can feel it kind of sending power and braking the wheels. Struggles a bit, but we're still moving forward, so that's pretty good. And then we'll try it again here. Let's see how long it takes. So my foot is to the floor almost, but still moving forward. Actually, it did really well. I'm shocked at how, you know, it got stuck, but at the same time, the computer is really smart about sending the power. That's where that X mode system comes into play. So I think Subaru definitely is preserving that, you know, capability, that off-road ability that their customer base really looks for. Now, with just under 13,000 units sold last year, the Subaru Solterra had its best sales year ever in 2024, so that really leaves a lot of space for Subaru to make significant improvements in the sales figure. And after spending the day driving the thoroughly revised 2026 Solterra, it's clear that Subaru and Toyota were listening to a lot of the criticism from the motoring press and, of course, from consumers themselves, because as you guys saw, this new XT trim is really quick. 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds makes this vehicle quicker than something like a Subaru WRX STI, at least a stock version. So if you guys own one of those vehicles, if you pull up one next to these, you might get your doors blown off by this thing, which is kind of hilarious to think, but that also shows the performance potential of EVs. And unlike a lot of competitors, Subaru actually did give this vehicle some off-road capability. With 8.3 inches of ground clearance, it certainly has enough to kind of get through some of the ruts and the courses that they set up for us are on this little course that we got up in northern Colorado. But overall, the ride quality remains really comfortable. The on-road dynamics are also relatively sporty, but not the sportiest, but it's also just, I think, a nice middle ground. I like a lot of people are going to get in this vehicle and find that it's an easy SUV, an easy vehicle to live with on a daily basis, but it now charges much faster. It has the NACS plug. It's much quicker as well, which the old one really didn't need to get quicker. And it's also really refined with a quiet interior, a smooth ride, comfortable seats. There's a lot to like about this new Solterra for 2026. The backseat is also usable. The cargo area is good, and I also love the new infotainment system and the styling updates they've made. I just want Subaru to offer a full paint finish on the red exterior color. I think it also would be a nice touch. They really should offer that to people who don't want, you know, the two-tone look like our particular test car here. Now, this is the part where I usually would tell you how much it's going to cost, but sadly, as of this filming, we don't know the pricing just yet. However, when we post this video, Subaru will have given us the pricing at a later date, so we'll go ahead and we'll include that in text on the screen so you guys can see the pricing, but that kind of leaves it up to speculation. So I'll be curious to see how close I am to the pricing, because the current Solterra starts at around $38,500. They've significantly dropped the price over the years, going up to around 46 grand if you guys look at the fully loaded version. Now, Subaru says that they're only going to increase the price of this new model by like double-digit increase, so under $100, which would be shocking to me, because basically if you want to go to like a fully loaded limited like this in the new XT trim, this is where there's room for interpretation. If I had to guess, I would say this model that we're looking at here is around $49,000, $48,000, which is around 3 grand more than a current model that's fully loaded, but I wouldn't be surprised if Subaru is charging around 2 grand extra at least for the much more powerful XT trim. So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. This vehicle continues to be manufactured in Japan, of course, but the company said that the tariffs won't actually affect the pricing, and Subaru says production starts in September, so you should be seeing these at your local dealership sometime in November, so you're gonna have to wait another couple more months. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full detailed overview on the brand new 2026 Subaru Solterra. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.